idea.
Or do you want?
Yeah, that's
Right.
fine.
So we're just here with Emma Venn 1077, and we're going to be explaining about assigning your business. Companies House obviously is already secured as an agency of Her Majesty's government as a legal entity or a legal fiction. It can't be an entity, can it? Because it's a fiction. So the titles are obviously the collateral. That's the only thing that should be going as Bonavacanta back to the Vatican. So when we're talking about doing the assignment of consent of the collateral to cover the debt equity swap discharge, the charges that they've incurred through the unlicensed and unconsented trespass on our rights and shares, that's what has built up the debt. And so now we're at this level where we're emptying the credit files that we've credited with our belief. So it's all right having a piece of paper, but you actually have to exemplify. It's all right, I was talking about the restoration of rights and it being a number in the uniform code somewhere or civil code procedure somewhere. It's it's an act when it's talking about something. It's something I may do. It's a hypothesis. A deed is something that I did. And this is where we've got title deeds, which obviously the deed was that I committed fraud upon my soul and used legal fiction and claimed a title to something that I didn't even have the right to claim in the first place. And that, when you stand back and just run that across every aspect of your life, and you realise that you've always had the right of use of all of it. And it's the belief in the title that we are assigning that restores our rights of being the creators and creditors of what we determine for ourselves to be. So what does it look like in this hypothetical trap of our minds? Well, in this instance, it looks like a business. So what's happened there is you've used legal fiction, created another legal fiction with it and put an LTD, limited your liability after it, or publicly listed corporation, company. And all that you really is you got organised to whatever degree you got organised. Create an organisation. And we were just talking about that word before we'd started to record it. And the Emma Venn, who have been exercising and exemplifying the restoration of rights and to enable this whole administrative system to be blown apart by itself, really. We've got them eating themselves at the moment. And this part here with the Companies House, they'd actually turned around and said that the telephone wouldn't call a number. And they had to use 6 different numbers, 6 pins, 6 different telephones, 6 different pins. After being able to speak to me then once, they'd said that you could have 5 minutes. The Emma Venn only got to speak for 2 minutes upon the word demur. And so Minister Emma Venn 010 had said to demur the case. And at that point, the call was cut off, and the telephones in that prison, holding cell, whatever you want to call it, it wouldn't call again. And they said, we can't call that number again, when the Emma Venn asked why. And they said, because it's an organisation. And she said, no, it's not. And so we were talking about, well, what does the word mean? Look at the gloss that they've put on these words. An organisation just means like they did. You got organised between you. And you did exactly the same thing that they did. What was that? Created an organisation. But this organisation is built on love and kindness, and that's the only difference. And if if love and kindness is deemed to be openly deemed and bastardized to being criminal, which is what's being exemplified by them at the moment in a way that they cannot even deny it themselves. It's full on apocalypse. So because of the word organization to us, we attach that to the brainwashing we've had through the TV about organized crime, organized terrorism. Do we ever use or hear the word organized kindness and love community? Do you ever hear the word organized kind people's protection patrol, or the
No.
love or the organized love brigade? We don't. Why and why not? Because we just didn't organize that bit of this, whatever this is, this vibrational vortex or whatever you want to call it, that we're creating from and in. And that's all you have to do is when you're talking about assigning your consent now, it's not talking about, oh, I filed a piece of paper in a company's house, or I sent a piece of paper to an imaginary non-entity and they expected a receipt back. We're on that point at this, it's the deed that you need to exemplify, not the act that I shall now perform in my obligatory duty. It shall be Vatican debt slave. Hey, well, aren't everybody fed up of playing that role? So by going through this process of this paper exchange, when you finished it, or when you don't even, well, you finish it when you decide to finish it, really. It's gone already the minute that you don't believe it anymore. And that's why it's so frustrating, because it is so simple, people. It is your thoughts, your belief, that is your consent that we give to anything to create it to appear real. And then we believe it. And then they stand there and say, oh, I need to see it before I believe it. No, actually, hang on a minute, lunatic. You don't see anything that you didn't believe first. Because even if you see something and you don't believe it, you don't see it. And you don't believe it, and I don't see it because I don't believe it, and so on and so forth. So when we're talking about restoring your rights, in paper fiction, it's got a code, it's got a definition. Is it not that we have had enough of trying to define something by man-made definition? We don't know what the hell it is. It's just something, and it makes you feel nice. And it's a way of life, or a way of being, or a way of feeling. And the only thing that's stopping me is my mind is under occupation. Who's occupying it? Myself. How have I occupied it? With a load of numbers and a load of piece of paper. And the only person or thing or entity that has been kidding itself as being a non-entity was myself. So who is it to blame? Me. Who do you need to talk to stop doing it? Me. Who are you going to make the application to and put on notice that you're going to stop doing it? Me. And so this is what you're doing. You're actually shutting these doors down in your own mind. So you get to the point where you realize without any shadow of a doubt that it was only me that was doing it to me. And so you could stop doing that anytime you like, because it's me that was in control of it. And I don't mean me. I mean, but the irony is, me is the minister on the van.
Yeah.
And
So once that's assigned, I just wanted to kind of, just for the purpose of the
when you
recording.
assigned the name, not even assigned the name, when you assigned the consent, the collateral, all of that behind that legal fiction, how did you create a company? I don't even need to have a national insurance account number or I don't even need to identify myself as Lord Kurtz in order for me to put a file, pretend that I'm a government and put in UK Government Limited. And because it's in there, and it can be used as hypothesis that it's real. Anybody posting anything or filing anything, I know because I do it myself, it's complete lunatic. And I've had to do these things to exemplify the lunacy of it. That is what I've arrived at. And whose lunacy was it? It was, all I had to do was put down my lunacy. And so when people say, how did you do it? I stopped being a lunatic. I put another definition to the word lunatic, which meant that I wasn't a legal non-entity inside a system that wasn't fiction or was fiction. Or was fiction, but it's now not fiction. I mean, you send yourself into lunacy with it
Yeah.
if you try. So, and that's what we've done to ourselves. We've sent ourselves into our own lunatic asylum, and that's why. Because there's so many of us still doing it and hanging on to that as a solid foundation, for every time that you don't accept it, for every time you pass a rock over the counter to somebody, for every time you even send a document really to yourself now, because you're a secured party creditor. So hello, here I am, secured party creditor. To what? To HM government or Her Majesty's government or UK government or the legal fiction or my mind is what I'm a secured party to, actually. And so, and when you get to that point, you realize that you've been completely wasting your time and energy trying to fight your way through something that doesn't exist except in your mind. And so they just look like these are just the deed is actually for me the thought and the feeling, the action, the acting out of the deed comes after that point. And so the responsibility of your deeds are then defined by somebody or something, or it's projected onto you instead of you defining it. And that's why the key, I believe, to this is done by writing your own glossary and writing your own definitions, and definitely learning Greek, because of the vibrations of the words that you use when you use letters. So what you're actually doing is imagine your mind now as, and it's exemplified as a belief. I believed it was a good idea to take my legal fiction and create a company with it. What have I done there? Well, I've really allowed the two accounts to be laundering my mind with, really. And it looks like that, one in that website or one on that screen. And I've invested and credited my mind to it. Why? Because I wanted to capitalize on my right mind. Because if I was, in order for my mind to be right, all I have to do in order to secure it is stop capitalizing on it. What does that look like? It looks like I use paper, big letters. It's so simple. So what if and a lot of people get this about writing, it exemplifies your comprehension that the capitalized version of your mind, given name, with a title, is not yours, and you don't use it because of, you might understand loads about the implications of it because you've lived loads of experiences and circumstances where you've exemplified what it is that happens, because that was your life. Life happened, didn't look like titles and limited companies. So why, when you say we've assigned a consent, we've assigned a collateral, it is the mind that we're talking about. That's why the call is a cult. What have I done now? I've organised my mind, and I've got a few people who wanted to organise their minds to stop crediting a belief mechanism that didn't give us any benefits. We couldn't trust that belief anymore. And so it had to get as bad as it did so that people could start to realize that the belief that they were investing and crediting in, it was, a terrorist and a virus upon itself, literally. So all of those people who are infected by such a virus of the mind, that's what that looks like. And off they go down there and have that keyword that will ban this video on YouTube. But we all know what it is. So that is the exemplification of the deeds, of the acts that we think that we have got to perform under some kind of obligation to some non-entity. I mean, people will say, I need some help doing this. It's just that. You have secured your mind and stop crediting it. So when it comes to their little game of, oh, we're going to dissolve ourselves and Bonavacanta, and we've taught you all now, our glossary still, Bonavacanta, it means abandoned property is collateral. No, for me, it doesn't mean that. It means vacant bones. It means you haven't got a mind. You're the scarecrow. And what does the scarecrow represent? Well, I've got a scarecrow account. It represents gold. Does it really? How can a scarecrow account represent gold? Is it not you as the universe that represents the ability to be able to manifest itself and create something that, you know, you can even that pick it up and hold it in your hand and call it gold? It doesn't belong to you. It's a part of you. So in the irony, it doesn't belong to me. It is me. And me, again, is responsible for where I assign that part of me, my gold, my thing that I thought that I've been taught to believe now is behind a scarecrow account and it's got some value to it. Or a piece of paper has got some value to it. It hasn't. What is it that it represents? The ability to be able to create a thought, a belief, the ability to be able to create matter now from my beliefs and make this reality appear real. What are you now? You're a master manifester. Now you're ministering then. Now you're ministering your energy and matter. And you're looking at yourself moving along going, wow, look what I created, a load of rocks and, and aren't they shiny? And that's it. And aren't they pretty to look at? That's it. You created a bit of rock. So when I put, we talk about the rocks, take them out of your head and put them in your hand is really the key word to that. I think for everybody, and what they get back then as a credit file, who are the creditors of this organization? No one. You represent a void. They've got a void, and it's void ab initio. It's got no place to start from. Why? Because you kept your mind out of credit in that belief. So if we need to go through these processes on paper, then still at this point to kind of what we're actually doing now is we're discharging the charges in the same way they were created, literally with piece of paper for a piece of paper. It's always ever been that. What did the paper represent? Somebody's belief. That's it.
Yeah.
So if we're still dealing with my belief is invested inside this fictional system instead of standing on the rock and deciding how I'm going to sustain myself from it, then I'm still Bonavacanta. I'm still vacant bones. Worse though is the frequency that we talked about with one of the MVens last night. Once you know to the level that you are Minister MVen, you're not going to commit fraud upon your soul, to that whatever degree that is, that you put yourself in a position to test your resolve as being able to exemplify that deed and act then in that role. Then when you get to that level, when you cave and commit the fraud, it's such a massive, even worse frequency that you're actually creating than anything that any mindless scarecrow would create, which is why one consenting mind or non-consenting mind, one legally matured mind is worth 1 million, and well, it's worth every single unconsented legal incapacitated mind without any consent. They haven't got any consent to grant. So, we say, oh, I'm assigning my, why, if somebody says to me, why am I assigning my consent? Or why am I assigning the national insurance account number because it's got value in it? I'm not even starting off with these people. They're not even getting responded to because you're a Bonavacanta. You still believe that there is some fictional, there's some value to fiction. That is what you're saying to me. So when we got to this level, you move through these steps and now you're at the level where you're going to discharge the charges of the belief that you have got some kind of obligation performance to a non-entity still at the company's house level. What people need to know is the company's house already secured. Titles are what they've got, and that's what they're getting back. What they're getting now to trade on is empty credit files. That's it. What have I done? It's exactly what the assignment of consent does. You've assigned your crediting capacity back to yourself. So what happens there? Dissolve the company. Now we needed to use this opportunity when it came to our attention of this little company or legal fiction, non-entity. It's not even a word fix. It doesn't. I haven't got one. It's a nothing. It's a belief that other people have got, and we had to discharge it. So there were people who believed that UK government was Her Majesty's government, was something real, was a thing, was something. So at that level, okay, let's talk to those people's minds. I'll meet you at the mind at that level. You all believe that. You really believe still that a company can pretend to be able to lobby a government or execute ministerial departmenting of your mind back to yourself. So you tell them where you're at, and let's secure it. Let's go. Okay, so we're secure party creditors of the next stage up, which is for the other people who get that part, or UCC. In that system, we're secured. In that system, we're secured. What are we talking about? We're secured in that belief mechanism. We don't fund it, we don't credit anymore. That's it. That's how you're free of it. So however long it is that somebody realizes that, is the point where you realize, all right, I'm going to the beach, or I'm going to go on the foot, or and I believe that the only way that each individual gets to that point is by practicing it themselves. So it doesn't matter really what you do in this hypothetical paper fiction, which we've exemplified in the last 20 days or more, or 2,000 years. I mean, where do you start to count the time and the energy that we've invested in this fictional hypothesis of reality? And here we are now, still doing it. So when you're dissolving something, what am I doing? I'm dissolving a belief. I go in the court, I say, well, who are you, Minister? What did I do? Dissolved the belief that I had in the fact that I was a legal fiction instead, that belonged to you. And then you get to the point where, okay, so why would they don't want Minister in the court, because Minister then is securing the mind, and they don't want to have anything to do with you, because they know that their kidding, their eternal kidding of themselves, will be exemplified and reflected back at you, back off you, back at them. They don't want to see that. So what you're doing, by dissolving the belief, you are not giving them you're not giving that belief mechanism the credit. It's not them, they're apparitions. And they're hallucinations that we've created that appear real, and we don't even realize that. And that's the big fraud. Not the birth certificate, just looks like that on a piece of paper. The big fraud is the thing that we actually believe. And if we believe, oh, I can't do that, I can't feed my children, I need to get slave tokens, I need to do this, I need to do that, you've lost sight on every angle. Because we're still crediting the belief of that. Whatever comes out of your mouth, that's what you believe. It says, some of the things, where do you expect somebody to meet you at the mind at? And the idea is that when you get to the point where every single one of those minds is, you're either going to evolve with that belief, or you're going to go and exterminate yourself. It couldn't be more clearer, folks. With that belief, you're going to exterminate your ability to create. You're going to hand your ability to create to a non-entity, a void. That's what, it's not I've got a piece of paper, I've assigned my concern, I've been on the website. It is my mind that I have got to withdraw and discharge those beliefs from, and evict the Roman system from the occupation of my mind. If it's Roman, got a label for it. It's the fear, that I cannot create everything that I require without and ignoring the fact, I'm asleep to the fact that I created everything that I didn't design instead. And it's not that somebody else did it to me. I did it to myself because I'm an unconscious creator at this point. At this point, now I'm consciously creating. It's really, to start with, obviously, that's your chain, that's your prison. That's why it looks like that. We've inherited the debt. We said assign the liabilities to us. That's what we've done. All of these people have said, I signed the liabilities. If I needed to say, right, okay, it's nothing to do with me, mate, go and see her. If that's all you needed to get rid of it, and somebody, the fact that you did that with the assignment of consent, it means I'm not accepting the liabilities here. They don't exist. I haven't got anything to give, pass on to anybody. I haven't got anything to sell, buy off anybody, because that thing, you know, what's the value of a piece of paper that represents a debtor? It's a debtor account. It's the legal fiction. You are the creditor of the legal fiction, not the other way around. Legal fiction doesn't give you the credit. The legal fiction doesn't give you the share of the planet and its resources, or the power of creation. But the legal fiction doesn't give you your rights. You assign your rights to the legal fiction, and you've not got any. And if people can't see that now, then off they go and take that thing and call it healthcare, because that's not my definition of it. So they're going to get, hopefully, the empty mind out of it. Now, if the empty mind needs a bit of a push along the way and some deadlines and you know, all of those people who've got that believe that UK Government Limited was still something real and it's still going to affect us. I mean, now we're seeing these people, because I've, Minister Van Open has put some posts up saying the deadline, not the 21st now, brought the deadline forward. So everybody is like, are we going to run out of time? Can somebody not assign their consent after the deadline? Do you really need a deadline? What do you need? I need to know what it is that, you know, somebody wants my national insurance account. It's not yours, first of all.
And look at the word they are using as well. Deadline.
Deadline, yeah. All of these language that, you know, we don't even we think it means a cut-off point. It is a bloody cut-off point. When you decide to cut off the legal fiction from occupying your mind, that's the point that you become free. That's it. To what degree you do that. But if you're still looking over your shoulder going, oh my God, I've signed my consent to her over there, and I've gone on Facebook and they've said she's a scammer, and oh my, you haven't signed your consent to anybody except yourself. That's it. You got a piece of paper. It's got a logo on it that belongs to a church. Well, whose church is it? It's your church. You said, I am my own church. I am my own minister. I am. And that's why when we've used that logo and that actually the Universal Life Church came and tried to prosecute us and say, you haven't got the right to use that logo and copyright theft. Don't go on your website, you lunatics. Does it not say on your website that ministers of if you're ordained as a minister in the Universal Life Church, you've got the right to use the logo, and that you haven't got the right as a Universal Life Church to come and enforce your beliefs on us and tell us how it is that we should minister ourselves? Or are you openly admitting to misrepresenting on your own website? Is the question they got asked. Because that's what you're bloody well doing, if that is that you are now going to dictate to us and tell us after writing that once you're an ordained minister, you've got the right of use of the logo in any way you like to use it in your congregation. Define congregation. Have you written a glossary? No, you haven't. And even if you have, I've got my own over here and it means this. When I open my mouth, it means this. But because when I open my mouth, I'm not thinking about what it is that somebody's hearing. I'm thinking about what it is that I've got to convey myself by. Then it's completely, now here I go, hesitating. I was going to say it's completely without hesitation, but it's like the thought of starting to walk. If you start to think about how you walk, if you start to think about how you think, if you start to think, you know, and hesitate, what is that? Doubt. What did you do? You didn't trust yourself. What are you? Universal law? Did you stop trusting in yourself, which is universal law? Did you just commit fraud upon your universal creational self and pour doubt on yourself? Did you hesitate? And this was, we're talking about being in practice with this all of my life. You are, everybody is, we all are, because we're all one thing. And so when we get our hands together, you know, and look into the other part of ourselves, reflection in their eyes, and you are exemplifying the law, universal law, the power of creation, the fact that I'm complete in my soul. And of course they're going to say you're a cult, because that's their definition for it, getting organized and believing in a shared belief, which they then call religion. We don't call it any of that. We don't call it anything. It's eperigrapto in Greek. It's indefinable. Can't write it. You cannot write that what I am. So this level now, we're talking about restoring the rights. You cannot write that what I am, because I can't even tell you what it is that I am, and I wouldn't know how to spell it. That's why that video is so funny when they got that what's it called? I call them Laurel and Hardy, but they're not. Fry, Laurel and Fry, and they dropped the pen. Have you seen that video? When
No,
they're
I haven't seen that.
in the police station, the policeman says to him, "Right, what's your name?" And he says, he didn't say anything. He drops the pen, and the policeman looks at it and says, "Well, what do you mean?" And so he said, "My name is," drops the pen. It's so dry. It's on Facebook. Put it on Facebook. Somebody sent me. It was absolutely roaring with laughter, because then it carries on. It's so funny. I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to go see it. Because he says, we said, "And how do you spell it?" He says, "Like it sounds."
Wow.
And then he said, "Right, Mr. Dr. Penn, where do you live?" And he said, "I live at number blah, blah, blah," and does a tap dance and slaps him, the policeman, in the face. And then the obviously the policeman got very happy, and he says, "Right," he said, "Is this dig the," and he does the tap dance and punches him straight in the nose, knocks him over. And he said, "No, that's not how you spell it," and does it again in the slap as he's climbed up for it. It's so funny, you've got to see it. And so people, stop defining yourself, stop defining this reality, stop defining other people as rude, or don't judge them. You judge yourself first of all. Here we are as a reflection. Here's the administrative court now. Here's Companies House. Here's the legal fiction system. Have you got my belief credit in it anywhere? Only if I say so. That's it.
Yeah.
So the dissolving of this, it dissolves, it falls down, it evaporates, it doesn't exist anymore. It's void ab initio. It's not even a click of your fingers. That's what the assignment and restoring of your rights really represents. Now, if they want to call it a cult or an organization, or we've got them call themselves pseudo law. They've defined civil code and debt equity swap as pseudo law. Brilliant. In the middle of the magistrates civil court at Cardiff, Newport. Really? We couldn't agree with you more. All of it's pseudo law. You sitting there saying that has dissolved it. Thank you. Speak up for the audience, please. So we've, that it is, you really, everybody's at that point, whether they know it or not. The assignment of consent to such a degree of universal law, and people who want to credit a belief mechanism built on love and kindness, is job done. Even if, going and standing in the street, and that's it. There is a parallel universe or reality now, and it's only going to get more obvious as we move along. And because the belief of and crediting of fear and fiction, okay, it's all fiction, so let's fictionize something really nice. That's all it is. So let's make our papers really nice. What is this? Oh, well, it says that I exchanged my 5 hours with you, and we created our exchange mechanism in a different currency. Looks like there's some paper. What's going on in the background there is that people stand up and support one another without capitalizing. You don't have to pay me to do it. I just want to do it. And oh, you must be a scammer. Okay, call me whatever you want, but just don't call me Vatican debt slave. Anything except that, please. Do not call me that title. So that, and obviously there's other parts of all of this, because there's billions of those parts, and all we've got to do is come together and organize our belief, invest it and credit it in something other than that, and it is each and every single one's choice now, because you can't pretend that you haven't got one. Nobody. So the what it looks like still, this is why I want people to get to that level, not still carrying on what paper do I need. You don't need any papers at all. We're at that level now where the mugshot on a Minister of Environment ID card covers me for all of the reasons to have one in the first place. Why do I need to have photographic ID? So we can identify one another. Okay. Well, what if the majority of us don't recognize anything of having any value of any? It clearly says not to be used for ID. And then you tell me that this thing that was created from it is valid ID. We've got them in the Queen's Bench now. 2 judges we've filed so many times that one had gone through gone from London to Cardiff back to London, and then one directly to London, and by email. One judge said no to it, even though and the reasons were, but it wasn't a valid legal entity. In writing, I have that.
I heard that video as well.
No,
yeah.
this bit is new now. This is a new part that only happened just recently, that they have said that the claimant, so the claimant in the habeas corpus is the party who's in the prison, is the claimant.
Wow.
And they have written that he is not a valid legal entity to make a claim. And you're right, it's not. So why are you making a claim against it then? Why is it in prison then? Why have you used that other legal entity that's laid the claim on its behalf, because you can't lay the claim because it's in prison? So, and you've used an account of that legal entity. So which legal entity is it that you're talking about that's not valid? The one that you've used to put them in the prison with, or the one that you've used to open the account to pay you 528,000 quid, so you thought, out of it? We've only got 528 quid. Because the rest of it's secured. There is no equity behind it. What we got back instead was a receipt that you are openly laundering a credit file and then saying that you're not, and it's not valid, and you are putting people in prison using legal fictions, legal entities that you said in writing are not valid. Because if I'm not valid to lay a claim to get my legal remedy, then I'm not, that legal fiction, that entity that they're calling it, is not valid to make a claim against me with, is it? If I've got a bank card and you've used that for ID, and you have laid a claim against me, and I walk in the police station the next day and say, right, I'm going to lay a claim against you, and I'm going to use this, and the policeman says you can't use that, it's not valid. That's all any of you have to do. Get them to lay a claim off you, use the legal entity, because now we've got a Queen's Bench judge turning around and saying that legal fiction cannot be used as a legal entity and call itself and be referred to as valid. That's what we've got out of this. If people just realize what it is that they're looking at as a receipt, as a receipt of the deed, and then in the other court across the way, across the corridor, we've got another judge accepting the claims and stamping them.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's purely, it's really
And I've got it in writing.
like a messed up system.
Got it in writing, and we've got it on record. Now, this is to exemplify the hypocrisy, the fraud, the false claim, the lack of any kind of knowing what one part or one half of us are not knowing what the other half's doing. The adding to the administration of the law means that it isn't the law anymore. Why are you allowing and accepting the word law and the definition that you've given it to mean this, any of you? Because it's not. And we've got the receipt to show that it's not. Now, I've waited a very long time to be able to, I'm not going to say organize it because I didn't. The universe orchestrated it and just used me as a vessel in order for us to be able to put it on the table and say, hey guys, do you see what I see? Do you see what I see here? And if you can see what it is that what have we got there? We've got a belief collective part, believing that the perception of the same thing that we're looking at, whether it's a piece of rock and call it gold, or whether it's a piece of paper, as an exemplification of a receipt of the securing of our own minds. What did we do? We could see the fraud for what it was, that who was committing, we were. And we recorded it. Here is my fraud today. I will commit fraud twice. I will go onto company's house. I'll create a company. I'll register myself as tax reference number, blah, blah, blah. And I will make a declaration about being in commerce. Oh, will he really? And I'll use a legal fiction that doesn't belong to me to do it with too. Well, and then I'll stand there and go, oh shit. They're coming for my house. Who's coming for your house? Well, whoever it is that I owe the debt to. For what? For committing the fraud on your soul, you got a debt, that's it. If I don't commit fraud upon my soul, have I got a debt? No, I haven't. And you can try and make me and try and charge me, but until I charge myself with that claim to any title that I say is mine, that's it. As long as I don't say any of it's mine, I'm good, because it's not. And when you talk about a universal battlefield, it's there. Go to that level. Universally, I will not commit universal fraud on my universal self. Thank you. And, that's it. Complete resolve.
Wow.
So,
I want to ask a question though.
pardon?
I have a question.
Okay.
And the question I wanted to ask, in terms of when do you then use a cease and desist? Do you use that to sort
You
of?
don't. See, it's on yourself. You serve it on yourself. You
Okay.
need to cease and desist. What? Doing what? It just looks like a company that I've been crediting with my belief that I have to pay somebody for something that has already been discharged millions and billions of times over. And we can make money out of thin air. We can put a rock in circulation and say, we can all believe it's worth, we take a piece of gold. There is a piece of rock over there, and we all believe that it's worth however much to the ounce. It's your belief. So you're serving the cease and desist on yourself.
Right.
You're serving, because that, and now in paper form, why are you serving it? Why am I saying that? In paper form, in legal fiction, people whose minds are still at that, is you're serving it on the company that you're secured to, the equity that they're using.
Right.
So why would you bother?
Yeah.
But if you need to, I'll tell you why you bother, because these doors are they're revolving. They call you a revolving credit facility. That's your mind they're referring to. Because you're just going round, 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 round. Here we are again, round, round. Inside, how do I get myself out of this thing that I've created by the belief that it exists again? So if you got anything what I just told you there, you would already have the answers to all those questions that you've got. Because it's you that needs to cease and desist. Doing what? Believing and crediting that belief, and put it over there and say, right, well, if the straw man has all of my share of the planet's resources, I'm going to burn that straw man, and I haven't got one. That's it. So what have I got to do there? I've got to cease and desist, believing that the straw man, there is an account somewhere that has got some value in it. What is it accounting for? My belief in that belief. I'm going to go down the rabbit hole. That code, you go down, you go in the rabbit hole, and you go in the rabbit hole, inside the rabbit hole, you don't go down another rabbit hole. It's just one bloody rabbit hole, and you're going round and round in it. It's a revolving credit facility exemplified inside the Securities Exchange Commission Edgar filing system as one itself. And as an apartment, as a block of apartments, like we talked about on that video, 2,800 Gateway Drive. That's what we all represent, virtual, real, and we're doing it where we are using Microsoft, talking virtually. We're not doing what it is that we're still crediting. You've paid, used slave tokens, done the exchanges, and converted it into kindness credits. And what we do with that energy, you released your energy into the community there. So there is a certain amount of Minister Emma energy in that pot there. It's up to us to determine as a collective what we see done with it. If we took it and we went, right, okay, well, I'm going to go and invest in poison, GMO food, hospitals that kill you, blah, 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 with that wonderful energy that has been granted to us as an exchange for my energy, in whatever form it takes. Now we can turn around and say, oh, okay, guys, what do you want to see done with that energy? Well, I'd like to see support people who are going to support me. I'd like to see people that I'd like to see invested in supporting the health and well-being of my community. I'd like to see it invested in helping people with love and kindness and being free to be able to. Can we do that? Of course we can. How can we do that? By not investing it, by not assigning the consent of that credit to whatever degree it is to anything other than that. Not having it. If my energy is going to be used for persecuting people for profit, you're not having it. I'm not giving it away. I'm not investing in that part of myself that thinks it needs to do that to itself. So for me, that's the cease and desist. I have to cease and desist credit in a belief that persecutes people for profit. In simplistic terms, that's layman to me. How do I do that? Well, I just don't go to their bloody shops to start with. I go into the community and I introduce myself as Minister Emma Van, and we're going to start something in the next few weeks where everybody's won the Star Prize. I'm going to get into that and I'm going to disclose how that works. You've all won the Star Prize. What's the Star Prize? Your soul back from being put in and invested into a system that persecutes you for profit, and it is you that is doing it to yourself. So please cease and desist in doing that. Get to the point where you're secure in the mind. The company is already assigned when you really anyway, because on paper it's already assigned, because the legal fiction that you used to create it, you've already assigned it. But the fact that you still are asking me what to do about it tells me that you are not secured in the mind to the degree of what that actually means. So that's why I wanted to explain that level now to you and everybody else, so that you can stop crediting it if you so wish. If you want to carry on crediting your own persecuting of your mind for the profit of a non-entity, let's talk about that at the universal level now. Okay, non-entity, where am I putting my mind in? A void? What do I believe in? Nihilism. Don't believe in anything. I put all my belief in something that was projected onto me. I've had no responsibility in the outcome state of the creation of this production. I'm just here for the ride. And I'm here not just for the ride, I'm here to tell you all you did it wrong, you did it wrong, you did it wrong. Really? Shut up, put your mask on. So at the level where the securing of UK government limited, if it was ever such a thing, that's why we had to do that. to exemplify to the people who credited their belief that it had some truth, value, importance, material matter to it, was a nothing. And hopefully that people who have worked through and gone and done this training, they have got to the degree where, you know, they don't credit that system to whatever degree they don't credit that belief system with anymore. And they just don't buy into it. All the words that we already use. You bought into somebody else's belief. Or have you looked at what it was that you were buying into? This is where the irony is when somebody says, why have I given you my national insurance account? Because you've been using it to buy into the belief that you want out of. That's why. The only time that national insurance account should be used for is to stand surety to somebody who's gone and arrested some thug dressed as a policeman trying to steal your assets. That's the way your support needs to be, people, behind people who will go and stand and arrest those people breaking the law, and they will put their own liberty in the balance in order for them to be able to do what it is that they say they're going to do, which is to uphold the law and universal law in their community. And when they do that, that's when you minister MVN. So however long somebody gets to before they actually do that, it's obviously down to them. But if they need a deadline or a kick in the ass or somebody to be rude or insulting, or what you won't get is you won't get the facilitating of the victim state. So here we are. I want out of the victim state, but you're making me a victim by the way you're telling me to get out of my victim state. You want me to be a victim of your victim state. Jock on. Don't be a victim of your own victim state, and then nobody can make you or make you feel like they have projected a victim state on you. And if you need a piece of paper, then it looks like an adjustment of account. How can we make an adjustment of account, an account of a legal fiction system? The equity, yes. So your right of use of something, but you have never had the right of use of the legal fiction in the first place. You never had the right of use to committing commerce with your rights. You didn't have your rights to do that with. That's not using your rights, right? Is it? They come along and say, oh, it's mine. No, if we all stop doing that, then Nestle can't do it, can they? Somebody can't come along and say it's all mine unless we all believe that it's somebody's in the first place in order for you to buy it off. How about get to discharge that belief, people? And when you get and discharge that belief, then it doesn't matter what the Vatican say or the HMG, they've called themselves now sort of a Majesty's government, because they can't use that legal fiction. You can't use any legal fiction. The apparitions cannot use anything because it's us reflecting our minds into it. And the more you credit another, you assign your consent of your belief, the power that you've got to create from it, the more you do that, the less you see any of this have any bearing at all in your life. So the assignment of consent that you've already done is more than enough. We cannot give a company a value because it's worthless. And when you're holding a company and it's been valued in slave tokens, how much? So let's have a look at a company, any company. Let's have a look at Microsoft. Microsoft, one of the biggest companies, massive turnover, massive profit margins. What does it exemplify? The murder and the destruction of people's minds, radiation, control, all of that, the parasitical system of persecuting yourself for profit. Is it healthy to sit in front of your laptop and go on Facebook for 24 hours a day? Is it healthy to have a 5G transmitter so that you can download a movie quicker because you've not been out of your house for a month or for a year or a half? Because you listened to what you were being brainwashed and projected with and said, how I want to tell them to cease and desist. That I've said to people when they've said about the ban, the coronavirus remedy, what's in it? Well, it's turn your telly off. That's it. Got the remedy, turn your telly off. All of you. turn your laptops off, turn your telly off, go into your community, get and talk to one another. This is your community, this is your responsibility. This that you need to cease and desist, the practice behavior patterns that get us this. And I don't know how many times I have to say that, and that's why I end up screaming at you all. And then you can say, "Yeah, rude." Well, you stay in your victim state, and because I'm going to live this wonderful experience that you can have when you don't do that. So, have you got any other questions before you go to the beach with your bucket and spade?
No, I think it's really thank you for really sort of coming out with that. I think it's the reinforcement of the fact that the mind go round and round, and thank you for that. I think that's for me, it's sort of again, it's just a reinforcement and a reminder.
Have you read the Uniform Commercial Code?
I haven't read all of it.
I
No.
would, if anybody, it's like it's hard to describe it. The definition of ambiguity, it's got the everything nice about it, so it feels nice, but used in the wrong hands, it's a complete code for self-destruction. And that's everything is really beautiful and everything is really good, and nothing is too good to be true, because look all around us, everything that is true that we can touch and reach out, and a child, a baby, a tree, a blade of grass, it's all that thing that you can really go and touch, that is true. It's true as we know it to be, as definition of reality, as proof of what we don't know, of our ability to be able to manifest matter and for it to appear real. Well, if we can do that, then who are we asking to stop doing that? We have to cease and desist ourselves. We have to assign the consent of ourselves back to ourselves and stop saying, "I've given it away." You're not giving it away. You can't give it away. It's not, you've been kidding yourself. You've given it away. And so when writing about granting it away, what is it I'm granting away? Self-responsibility of the ability to be able to create and accept the power of creation that I have already created is more than enough to sustain myself, my part of this experience, and everybody else's as well, and abundance. We're taught this, projected this scarcity and lack, and life is such a turmoil, and the words that we use and all of that, and we walk around like completely defeated. And I know, because I didn't believe in myself to the degree that I brainwashed myself that other people will go and be able to look after my children better than I would as a mother. You doubt yourself. And to doubt yourself is the bit that we talked about at the beginning. So come around in a big circle. The hesitation. Just step off. Who is anybody else to tell you that you're gonna fail and you're no good? But when you get to it, when you think it's somebody else, well, they said that to me and I felt like this. What were you responsible for? You were responsible for setting up yourself a circumstance where you could exemplify your mind reflected back at you to see whether you were in control of how your vibration of creation would be on any condition. So what are we now? We are singing a universe, one verse, and the title is Love and Kindness. And it's everybody's responsibility to sing that song themselves, not to listen to somebody singing it and then come and say, "I love that song, but I really hate the way you're singing it." Go jog on over there and sing it yourself. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just all that's how to be free. Be free. It's not okay. It's only us that are stopping ourselves being free. At any given moment, I want to trap myself. I want to, Well, if I sit in a prison cell and I believe, oh my God, nobody's doing anything, leaving me, and I need to use the legal fiction to get out of here because the prison outside is much better than the prison in here. No, it's not. At least you know you're in prison now, and at least you know that if you don't commit the fraud upon your soul, the definition of prison, it comes to your mind that actually I'm more free in here, inside here, than I am out there. I've been kidding myself with the definition of prisoners. I'm in an open concentration camp. I've got no control over what food I eat. I'm given a set of choices and the means to be able to only choose one according to how much energy somebody else has valued me at. That's a prison.
Yeah,
Better than you.
it's just a deep prison. The mind prison is just it's really a deep prison.
It's not. That's a limiting belief, and that's why you think you can't get out of it. It is as shallow as a puddle because it's one thought away. If I don't believe that, that's it. If I don't believe I'm not legal fiction, or even if I do believe I'm not legal fiction and I go against my own belief, go against the market of your own mind, what's your mind buying today? Oh shit, I'm really scared and I'm going to use the legal fiction. Why are you going to use legal? Because I'm scared. What are you scared of? Oh, I don't know. What are you scared of then? I don't know. What are you scared of? The unknown. So how do you know to be scared of it then? Oh. Omega, remember that? I've got nothing to be scared about because I'm Omega and Alpha compounded into V. I'll do for me. If I want to define myself, that's it. And I use the title M of N. And you say it's not valid to lay claim with. So leave them alone then, all of those people who you are saying and using something that's not valid to be used for claims. It's logic. So you don't really need to do anything at all. There's nowhere to file anything. There's nobody who's interested in referencing anything about something that should never have even been referenced, recognized, given credit. So that's what Companies House is. It is the house meaning chaos, of the organized minds invested in crediting a legal fiction system. And I thought that's what we'd secured. But most people think it's just a piece of paper, UCC1, and that's what it means. That what does it mean? Don't know. So what we secured then? I don't know. But you can actually say that. One guy here did. They were saying, "You need to give us your name." He said, if the non-disclosure isn't true and you don't use it, and if I can't, I've got the right to contract or not contract, and if I haven't got the right to assign my consent or sell the name, then you sign that piece of paper there to say that all of those things are not true. Because don't you do that? Aren't you operating in an organization where you have non-disclosure? Aren't you operating in an organization that has signed its consent and believes it to be true? Are you an organization that believes that somebody's rights can be taken for a debt? Is that not your belief mechanism anymore? Administrative court system of HM government and the rest of the corporate states? Are you saying that that's pseudo law? Yeah, okay, well, let's go to the beach altogether then. Stop fanning around, cease and desist on yourself. Because it's only you that believe it. And you just, instead of saying that you believe it, you've actually given us a receipt and said that you don't believe it. You don't believe that the legal entity that you created, HMCTS Crown Corporation, is valid. We couldn't agree with you more. It's exactly what we did here, but in a much bigger way, because now we've got the COVID involved in it as well. Because the last two guys were released on the Monday last week. And they, by a court hearing, and COVID then, because they refused to have a test and all of that malarkey. So I'll wear a mask or whatever. And so they said, we can't let you go because of COVID quarantine. Hang on a minute, you're telling me that COVID's got more power than the law? Nah, even in your own shitty administrative system, still got the rights to be face your victim, or your crime, your assailant, the claimant. Who is it that's laying a claim against me? Bring the evidence. The problem is, obviously, it's still pretending to be dead. Okay, so bring the legal fiction then. Well, we can't bring the legal fiction now because we just said it's not valid to lay a claim against. So who have you got in there? 600 people, I had confirmed, over 600 people by one of the prison guards, agent officer Cox, confirmed to me on the phone when I said there's 2 people incarcerated in there unlawfully and putting you on notice that you as a jailer obliged to release them, put them before a judge and bring forth the evidence and the body. And she said there's just 2, there's at least 600 people, there's at least 600 people in here who are unlawfully incarcerated. You what? You know that there are 600, at least 600 people, and you're responsible for their incarceration so that you could get paid on, and they're there lawfully, and you're not doing anything about it. Do you not want to help me help those people? Starting with these 2, and I'm coming back for the rest of them. Because on your basis, and I'm going to bring you forth as a witness, because you're the one who made that claim. I'm going to name Officer Cox in the habeas corpus claim for 600 or more unknown persons, because they all use that when they don't know you are, they don't know who you are. Persons unknown who were held unlawfully at Cardiff HM Prison and anywhere else across the country. Because she made the claim. And will even use a national insurance account to discharge the 528 quid out, so you're not getting any money either. Why? Because we're secured party creditors and we are the ministers of universal law, and you are our collateral. Who are you? You and you and you and you and you and you and you. Why? Because you keep using legal fiction. Have you got the right of use of that legal fiction? No. Well, I'm going to prosecute you then. Actually, you're going to prosecute yourself. Oh, you just did. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to come along and prosecute you. You just prosecute yourself. I don't have to do the same thing to you that you've been doing. I'm just going to stand back and watch you do it to yourself, and then ask you, are you all right with that thing that you just did to yourself? No, I don't like it. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. Do you like getting what it is that you keep getting? No. Why do you keep doing the thing you keep doing then? And people want hours and hours and hours of papers and papers and papers. Go to the fields, grow some food, and en masse, they have not got that apparition. If you look at it, the size of it in comparison to it, to you as a belief mechanism, then just if 10% of that belief mechanism got off their ass on one day, and instead of going marching in London or wherever, went to the fields and grew food every week. Split the crowd into, come Monday this week, a million of year in that, instead of going to London, go to Kent, go to the farmers in Kent, go and grow some food and restore your rights to access your resources. To hell with the buildings, the Bank of England or whatever, or Buckingham Palace. Are you going to be able to eat from there? You're going to eat the concrete posts or the marble arches? Lunatics. Oh, we need to be inside the city. What do you need to be inside the city for if the food's growing in the fields over there? How do I buy my food with kindness credits? How do I pay for it? You don't grow it. Earth gives it to you for free. What the hell are you doing? Oh no, I can't do that. That's what it said to me for 8, 9, since 2013 I've been saying this. And they said, oh, we can't grow our own fruit. You don't actually do it. You just put water on it. You don't even have to do that. Earth does it for you. Is it not time that you respected the thing that was giving you all of this? No, we need to control it. We need to do this. We need to add to the administration of our own resource. No. And it looks like this, at this level, the Ministry of Remedy now has remedied the administrative system that is created and credited by the unsecured creditors of incapacitated legal minors that use the legal fiction. And under that, you're prosecuting yourself. We don't, that's the Ministry of Remedy. Yourself. Look at the people who do that. Do you live a happy, fulfilled life, or are you full of drugs and prostitute yourself in order for you to profit and persecute other people in the same way and pass your liabilities, if you're indebted mind, on to someone else? Or do you stand there and say, I'm not buying that shit? Thank you very much. You can keep that. I'm going over here. Even if I don't meet anybody on at the mind in that level, as long as I'm not doing that, I'm good. I don't need anything else. I don't need money in my pocket. I know I don't need anything. It's all there. It's all around you. Go and get it. So that I hope helps people get to rid of that fear that, oh my God, now I'm being forced to do something by those that I believe are the secured party to fiction. We just represent a community of people that we believe and trust in universal law. That's it. Is there something criminal about that? So we're going to go and arrest her. What for? For helping people and for love and kindness and organising love and kindness as a currency and a method of exchange in our community. You want to put me in the prison for that? What's that say about you? Can you see all of these people? Can you see that?
Yeah.
All of these people who say, oh yeah, we want to create a new reality, but I need some slave tokens to come. Really? You don't want to create a new reality. You want to compound the one that you want to be free from and come and contaminate the one that is waiting over here, because you can't bring that energy to this. You don't get there because it's not vibrating to it. One's resistance and one's resonance. So, and the where you exchange your energy, bill of exchange exemplifies me exchange my energy for slavery and the amount of credit that I've credited into that system. That is the definition for me of a slave token. If I take my energy and I credit something else and it represents another, got another receipt for what it is that it represents, what it can be exchanged for and invested in, I will not invest or back a slave token note to be invested in the administrative HFCTS, that system of slavery that it represents. When I can just simply write another piece of paper. And it doesn't even matter if I've got a piece of paper, what it's going to come to. I've got a paper and a pen, got a rock. What does it represent? Anything you want. My love and kindness, first of all, in all conditions. And even if it sounds, even if your victim state needs dissolving, then, you know, that's what you've come for. You all know that. Your higher because the super whatever self thing, indefinable part of you knows that. And so it's not, I got to go and confront something I'm not ready to confront. You love confrontation. It is myself that I confronted, and I looked at myself inside out, upside down, and I went, I'm not all right being a Vatican corporate slut, anal debt slave. I don't know about you. We don't want to live like you. Okay, well then I don't know any other. I know that you've got there, which I define as corporate Vatican debt slave, and then there's this. You know, I'm sitting here looking at myself, holding my trousers, and my hair stood up, but I've never been free. I've never been happy. I've never been indefinable to the degree where I am. Where I can't define myself as. So that's what I'm doing, trying to help people. So whatever anybody else wants to determine it as, that is from the horse's mouth. You know, it's, I don't even care if you do this or not. It doesn't make any bit of difference to me at all. Doesn't. Because I know that the universe is already factored in. We've already accounted for all this. So there's nothing to be concerned about.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, lovely. I'm going to go and eat some food now.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right.
so much for your
You're
time.
welcome.
Yeah,
Lots of
appreciate
love.
it.
Thank you. and we'll let you know what it was that we did with the exchange.
Okay.
All right, darling. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.